This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Happy Friday afternoon. Friday before SEC Media Days. We're 49 days away from Alabama kicking it off against Western Kentucky. So it'll be here before we know it. And after next week, it's going to fly by. It's going to fly so fast because the Alabama football team, will report to fall camp at the end of the month of July. So after we get through next week, have a little SEC Media Days. It's going to fly right by. We appreciate everybody jumping in and joining us on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at Joe Gaither 6, or you're watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody doing that, subscribing to the BamaCentral YouTube channel. Going to be a lot of SEC Media Day coverage next week on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. I know if you've been on the channel lately, it's been Joe Gaither Show, Joe Gaither Show, Joe Gaither Show, pretty much carrying you through the summer, and we appreciate everybody who's watched us through the summer. But next week, there will be a lot more interesting coverage on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. We're going to talk about a handful of things today. We invite you guys to jump in and join us on the social media machines on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can leave me a comment, a question, a query, or complaint at Joe Gaither 6. We're going to talk about brand new numbers for several Alabama football players. We're going to talk about the big questions that we have for next week at SEC Media Days. We invite you guys to let us know your big question. What would you ask Coach Kalen DeBoer if you had a chance to ask him a question on Alabama Day? That's going to be on Wednesday. And you can also chime in. What would you ask Jalen Milroe, Tyler Booker, or Malachi Moore? And so we will get into several of those topics. We'll also touch a little bit on Nick Saban at the ESPYs last night. What a speech. Obviously winning the Icon Award. Well-deserved. Great to see Mark Ingram and Bryce Young presenting him with the Icon Award. We'll talk about that as well. Before we get into the show, though, I want to tell you about my friend Derek Daniel at State Farm right here in Northport. You can call him at 205-758-3391 if you've got any insurance needs. Home insurance, life insurance, car insurance. Man, you need that car insurance. You got to be legal to drive. And, man, when the students come back to town, we love the students here in Tuscaloosa. They help the economy a whole lot. But the driving and the traffic can get crazy in August and in September and as the students make their way back from all the out-of-state locations. So make sure that your auto insurance is up to date. Make sure you have the proper coverage. You can call him today at 205-758-3391. Visit him in person at 4604 Highway 69 North in Northport, Alabama, 35473. Derek Daniel will present you a local face, a friendly face. He's from Tuscaloosa, so he knows the area. He knows all the connections, where to send your car if you get into an accident, and repairmen for different issues in your home. So call him for your home, life, and auto insurance needs at 205-758-3391. We appreciate Derek Daniel so much for sponsoring the program. So let's get it started. Let's get it started with brand new football numbers. The Alabama football roster, RollTide.com, got updated today. This morning, and you can read about all those updates more in depth at BamaCentral.com. Our friend Katie Wyndham basically handled a quick little update article this morning with new heights and weights for several different players. And look, we're not going to get into heights and weights very much. You had 9 number changes, jersey number changes, and I think that 5 of them will impact what you see this fall. We're just going to go through them real quickly because this is just logistical changes. I don't think this is going to really matter that much for the fall. But when you see these numbers in the fall, you're going to want to know who these fellas are because I think that these guys will be making impacts in the fall and they'll be wearing new jersey numbers. The first and foremost, the easiest one is Kendrick Law. Kendrick Law is changing from 19 to number 1. and we talked about him a good bit on the program yesterday. I think Kendrick Law is going to be used a lot and in multiple different ways in this Kalen DeBoer offense. I cannot wait to see Kendrick Law in this Kalen DeBoer offense. I think he's going to be split out wide. I think he's going to be in the slot. I think you're going to see him in the backfield as well. He's going to be a versatile weapon in the Kalen DeBoer offense, and he's not going to be wearing number 19 anymore. He's going to be wearing jersey number 1. So get ready to be wearing that number 1 Law jersey in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think he's going to make a huge impact on the field this year. The next guy that I think you'll probably notice very, very quickly is Emmanuel Henderson. You've probably seen some of these number changes already as the guys did their photo shoots, and we commented on the photo shoots a couple of weeks ago as they were getting put out. Emmanuel Henderson has changed his jersey number officially from 24 to number 3. And I think Emmanuel Henderson is due for a really big breakout season. Emmanuel Henderson, a former 5-star running back / athlete from right here in the state of Alabama. And I think that really the wide receiver room as a whole is going to take a huge step forward. So you're going to have to watch out for number 3 now, Emmanuel Henderson wearing jersey number 3. Last one on the offensive side that I think you will notice very quickly is Richard Young. And Richard Young is a genius. You're a genius from an NIL standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. I think you are very, very, very smart, Richard Young. And no matter what happens in the running back room this year, Richard Young changing his jersey number officially is so smart. So what did he change from 25? He wore 25 last year as a redshirt freshman. And what did he change to? Well, he changed to number 9. And come on, you can put this together. You're an Alabama fan, or maybe you're an Alabama hater, but you're a college football fan. Who wore number 9 with the last name Young? Bryce Young. And so he's going to kind of reap some overflow on people who are buying Bryce Young jerseys. Well, no, you're buying a Richard Young jersey. And so it's going to be the same name and number as the Heisman Trophy winner. And so Richard Young, I do think he's going to make a pretty big impact this year. I think they're going to ride kind of a hot hand philosophy from the running back standpoint, and we will get into that when we talk about questions for Kalen DeBoer. But Richard Young, so smart, even if he don't play, which I think he absolutely will play, and I think he absolutely will have a pretty big impact on the Alabama offense. Richard Young, from an NIL standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from a brand standpoint, I think is going to be really, really, really strong, changing his number from jersey number 25 to jersey number 9. 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball, and you can read about all 9 number changes and all the freshmen, this freshman who enrolled over the summer. You had Jay Lindsey, you had Kevin Riley, you had Rico Scott, Amari Jefferson. You can read all their heights and weights and their jersey number. Rico Scott, I see you wearing my favorite number 11. We'll see if you can rep that very, very well. Make me happy just from a personal standpoint, but you can read about all the jersey numbers right there at BamaCentral.com on our cover today. On the defensive side of the ball, 2 changes that I think that you'll see them on the field and you'll say, wait, who is that? Who's wearing jersey number 2? Who's wearing jersey number 4? Xavier Brown is a freshman from California, cornerback, and obviously Alabama hit the transfer portal hard, getting Deshaun Jones out of Wake Forest, and you got Damani Jackson out of USC to pretty much play cornerback. And they will probably play and be the starters at the beginning of the year. But Xavier Brown got a lot of love and a lot of hype in spring practice. Well, Xavier Brown was wearing number 15 during spring practice and all the way through A-Day. He's now changed his jersey number to number 2. Who was the last number 2 as a cornerback for Alabama that was really, really good? Oh, wasn't it Patrick Surtain? Was there anybody in between Patrick Surtain? No, I don't, off the top of my head, no. So you're stepping into a pretty nice little jersey number from a cornerback standpoint. Xavier Brown changing from 15 to number 2 before he takes any official snaps here at the Capstone. And lastly, but definitely not least, I think you're going to see Quay Russaw get some decent playing time this year on the defensive line and as the Wolf and as kind of the on the defensive end standpoint. Quay Russaw has changed from jersey number 49 to jersey number 4. And so I think that he's going to make a pretty big jump. I believe he's going into his sophomore season. He and James Smith were 2 big old recruits in the class of 2023. So there's 5 guys who have changed their jersey number that I think will make impacts this fall. And you're going to want to know, who's wearing that jersey number 1? Who's wearing that jersey number 9? And now you know Kendrick Law has changed to number 1, Xavier Brown to number 2, Richard Young to number 9, Quay Russaw to number 4, and Emmanuel Henderson to number 3. People love those single-digit numbers, and so those guys will be rocking those single-digit numbers this season in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Again, you can read about all the logistical numbers and heights and weights for all the incoming players that enrolled over the summer. Ryan Williams is on that list as well. You can read about what he's wearing. Obviously, I think you probably already know that, but it's all right there at BamaCentral.com. I've got questions for Kalen DeBoer. I've got questions for Jalen Milroe. And really, I've got questions for Malachi Moore. I want to ask you guys what your questions are for next week at SEC Media Days. You can leave them in the comments at Joe Gaither 6 on any of the social media machines, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find me on Instagram and really every social media machine that you can think of. If I'm on it, it's at Joe Gaither 6. But let's talk, before we do, about these questions. Let's talk about Nick Saban. Nick Saban last night in the ESPYs, man, what a speech. And maybe I'm biased. Maybe I have my crimson-colored glasses on, and you can call me out for that in the comments if you'd like to. But Nick Saban last night accepting the Legacy Award, the Icon Award from the ESPYs last night, presented by Bryce Young and presented by Mark Ingram, had several really strong, really great points. And, man, at a time where leadership is maybe severely lacking in this country from a very public standpoint, Nick Saban was so refreshing last night to hear him talk about impact, to hear him talk about helping people, to hear him talk about using his platform and using really the sports platform for good and for the greater good of really your community. Nick Saban last night, the biggest number, obviously, everybody knows the 6 national championships he won here at Alabama, played in 9 national championship games, led 4 Heisman Trophy winners, just all kinds of victories on the field. And you have the LSU national championship as well, which he referenced. But the biggest thing that I thought, man, what a number. 668 college degrees given out in his program. Now, look, I know the haters, the detractors will say, oh, they were all general studies majors. Okay, sure. You've got a mixture of general studies majors for sure. And that happens everywhere. But the number, 668 college degrees, putting players through your college, through your university, both at LSU, dating back to Michigan State, all the way back to his time at Kent State, and then obviously right here at Alabama. 668 degrees is just impressive. And I think it really speaks to the man that Coach Saban is and was and still is, obviously. People have had, and I think the media has helped create this narrative that Coach Saban's a bad guy, Coach Saban's a mean fella. And look, he has been curt with the media before, but I think that many people just didn't understand or don't understand him very well. I think he has a very dry sense of humor, and he's clocked to, okay, I have 12 minutes for this media appearance, and you guys better ask me some good questions, some smart questions. If you ask me a dumb question, I'm going to jump on you. I think he held us from the media contingent accountable. And I appreciated that. And I always appreciated dry sense of humor. My father has a dry sense of humor, and I love him very much. Shout out to you, Dad. I try to have a dry sense of humor. Hopefully that comes through a little bit here. Maybe it doesn't. But look, I always appreciated Coach Saban and never thought he was, he's a mean guy. He's a bad guy. He's a hard. Well, obviously he had high standards, and that kind of maybe exuded a little bit of hard-ass nature. But 668 degrees. And furthermore, he said, okay, we need to stop when you shake hands, hey, how are you? And start asking, Who did you help today? How did you help someone today? Encouraging people to get outside of their bubble, encouraging people to get outside of their sphere of influence. Obviously, I'm here working from home, but I hope that I've impacted your day just a little bit positively. And if anybody needs anything, that my DMs are always open to chat about pretty much anything sports related or non-sports related. But Coach Saban just emphasizing the need to help your community, emphasizing how proud he was of his players for building homes and building houses. I always loved the original intent of the Habitat for Humanity homes where, oh, we're going to build a house for every national championship. And that carried for a couple of years. And then there was a year that Alabama didn't win a national championship. And, oh, well, this is the Sugar Bowl house. Oh, this is an SEC championship house. Oh, this is a Heisman house, basically naming them for other accomplishments, basically saying, oh, maybe Alabama didn't win a national championship this year, but we're still going to give back to the community. And I just think that he's such a leader. And you may say, "Oh, Joe, you're biased, and obviously you graduated from the University of Alabama, and you appreciate all that stuff." Sure, but take a step back, away from rivalry. If you're a Tennessee fan, if you're a Georgia fan, Auburn fan, whatever the case may be, away from rivalry, and just realize, I believe that he wants the best for college football. I think he's working for that behind the scenes. He's always been working for that. He kind of was doing that from the Alabama podium over the last couple of years, talking about the transfer portal, talking about NIL, and I think that really and truly he wants the best for his players and for his and for everybody that he is involved with. He credited what he said: "This award is for the thousands of people that were involved in the programs that I was involved in." Obviously, he was the face. Of those awards, and the win-loss record goes under Nick Saban's record. But a lot of people went into building LSU and Alabama and Michigan State and basically everywhere that he's been. Loved his shout out to LSU last night, talking about Jesse Jackson saying, "Oh, everybody in Tiger Stadium is closer to God, is closer to God than they are in my house on Sundays." And he shouted out Tiger Stadium, "Oh, you can smell the bourbon on the 50-yard line." I hope that maybe those comments and hopefully time helped ease a little bit of the negative emotions that the LSU fans tend to carry around Nick Saban. So that was great to see Coach Saban last night accepting the award. He looked great. Obviously, all right, another thing that really stood out to me, you shouted out Miss Terry. Shouted out Miss Terry as, oh, the love of my life for 52 years. And I love how really respectful he is of her always, and I hope to carry that into maybe a marriage of my own one day. So I really appreciate the example that he sets for me and maybe for you. As obviously I didn't play for Coach Saban. My talent was no bigger than my fingernail, but I think that he really exudes himself as a leader of men and as a leader of society, and so just really great to hear him speak again last night at the ESPYs, and congratulations for winning the Icon Award. Duly deserved. Great to see Mark Ingram and Bryce Young both give him that award. Let's talk about questions from SEC Media Day. I've got 3 or 4 of them. I'm going to try to ask them and hypothetically answer them, and we'll see what we get answered next Wednesday in Dallas. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about my friends Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the number 1 residential roofing replacement company in Alabama and in Mississippi. Purple Turtle Roofing, whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for a free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free, and they're going to make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Visit them online today at www.roofturtle.com. When you call, tell them that Joe Gaither sent you. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-787-6635. We definitely appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for jumping on and being a part of the program. All right, so let's talk about some big questions for SEC Media Days. Look, it's going to be a chaotic scene over in the Omni Hotel in Dallas on Wednesday. I'll be helping cover for Missouri. I'll be helping cover Mississippi State, and I'll be all over the Alabama coverage. I'm hopeful, not promising, but hopeful to get a little bit of time with Jalen Milroe, Malachi Moore, and Tyler Booker. And I'll have 3 questions for each of those guys. If that does work out, we'll see how the schedule works out. We've been in some communication. We'll see how it works out. Hopefully, you'll join us on the Wednesday program. But let's talk. Basically, if you've joined me on the Joe Gaither Show on Cowbell Corner and on Missouri Central, I've asked Jacob Bain from Cowbell Corner and I've asked Joey Van Zimmeren from Missouri Central, what's the number one question you would ask Jeff Levy and Eli Drinkwitz? Well, now it's time to turn the tables on myself. SEC Media Days, we'll probably get a question or 2 right there in the main media room, and I've got a few written down. We'll answer them. You can answer them yourself, or you can let me know your questions for Kalen DeBoer, or your questions for Jalen Milroe, Tyler Booker, or Malachi Moore. But the first thing that I wrote down is the philosophy at running back and at wide receiver. Think back to Coach Saban. And obviously, this is not going to be a slam Coach Saban session, especially after our comments that we just had about Coach Saban and his impact. But Coach Saban was always very, very, very tight with his rotations, which that's his prerogative. That's the way he wanted to do things. Very tight with who gets to play, who do I trust, who gets to play. And that was one issue or one aspect of the Alabama program, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, really, I guess maybe almost 10 years with the no-huddle offense that maybe I disagreed with to a degree. Because, look, Alabama has been recruiting at a very, very high level year in and year out. It's 5-star this, it's 4-star that, it's number 1 receiver this, it's number 2 receiver that. Same thing in the running back room. It's number 1 receiver. I mean, look at the 2023 class. Justice Haynes and Richard Young, 2 5-stars, come in the same class, right? They come in the same class. Obviously, Justice Haynes early enrolled, and Richard Young enrolled in the summer of last year. So Justice was a little bit ahead of Richard Young and maybe a smidge ahead of him in the talent department as well. But we don't really know that because Richard Young redshirted, and obviously you want to save the redshirt. You had plenty of running backs last year in Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams. But take those 2, for example. Coach Saban has a tendency or had a tendency of saying, okay, these are the guys I trust. The rest of you guys are left out in the cold. And maybe you get a running back rep or 2 towards the end of the game when Alabama's up by 40 points and crushing their opponent, and we need to give you the ball to run the clock out. And great, obviously, Coach Saban's philosophy worked very, very, very well for him. But I wonder if we'll see a shift in philosophy. I wonder if we'll see a shift in philosophy under Coach Kalen DeBoer, particularly in the wide receiver room. We've talked plenty about Jeremy Bernard. We've talked plenty about Kendrick Law. Basically, the rest of the wide receivers are kind of up in the air. You've got Kobe Prentice, who's kind of come along and who's made several big catches in his career, but never really carved out a main role. Emmanuel Henderson moved to wide receiver as soon as he got to campus, and it's taken him probably a couple years to learn the position. But all reports and all thoughts about Emmanuel Henderson are that, oh, man, he is the bee's knees. He's the real deal. You hear the same sort of thing about Cole Adams, the redshirt freshman out of Oklahoma, and about, oh, man, he is a route-running demon. He is tearing things up from the slot, and he is really getting open. Okay, great. Same sorts of things. Everyone's excited about Ryan Williams. Everyone's excited about Caleb Odom and Arian Bubba Hampton. You've got a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. Tons. Probably an embarrassment of riches. So how do you divvy up the reps? You think back to Coach Saban's kind of philosophy, and it was basically, the top 3 guys, and maybe a mixture of a 4th comes in there at some point. And look, it took a long time for, Jalen Hale to get some repetitions last year, and you're going to have Jalen Hale is out basically with the knee injury. So, okay, he's scratched off the list, but you still have a lot of talent behind him. Rico Scott, Amari Jefferson, Ryan Williams, all these freshmen. And, of course, they're freshmen, so they're not probably going to make a huge impact week number 1 against Western Kentucky. But how quickly do they get involved? How lenient is Kalen DeBoer? How open is the rotations with Jamarcus Shepard and his wide receivers? Are we throwing wide receivers out continuously at defensive backfields? Because in my look, the next football game that I coach will be my first, but if I were in charge, I would be wearing other teams' defensive backfields out because we've got athlete after athlete after athlete after athlete, and every single player, obviously, Jeremy Bernard and Kendrick Law are going to get the lion's share of the work, and Kobe Prentice and Emmanuel Henderson are probably next up for that number 3 spot. And you don't want to take them off the field if they're not tired, but if there's an inkling of, oh man, he's a little slower on rep number 8 than he was on rep number 1, and not know that's going to happen. If there's an inkling of, okay, bring let's just say Jeremy Bernard off the field and throw Caleb Odom on the field, throw him out there. Oh, make sure that Cole Adams gets his reps. I think that one area that the Alabama offense could improve from a philosophical standpoint, not really a schematic standpoint, but from a philosophical standpoint, is playing more players. Playing more players. You've been recruiting at an elite level for 16 of the last 17 years, and really 17 years. I mean, Coach Saban's first class in 07 wasn't really a full class. But for the last 17 years, you have recruited elite talent from all across the country. Play them. With the advent of the transfer portal, get them on the field now. Get them on the field right now. Make them feel a part of the offense. Make them feel a part of the program. Now, obviously, I'm not saying to throw a player out there before he can be trusted, but come on. A 9 route is a 9 route is a 9 route is a 9 route. An out route is an out route is an out route. A stick is a stick is a stick. Whatever, a slant is a slant is a slant. Like, come on. All of these guys have the talent to run a slant route, right? And clearly the blocking is going to have to be considered as well, and who can block on the outside for the rushing attack. But these guys have talent. Put them on the field and develop them in game action, especially when you're playing Western Kentucky, especially when you're playing USF, especially when you're playing Vanderbilt, when you're playing South Carolina, when you're playing some of these. I mean, look. We always like to talk about SEC competition, and yes, you respect all 16 SEC schools. No, Mississippi State's not on the schedule this year, but there are schools like Mississippi State, like Arkansas, not on the schedule either, thank the Lord. There are schools like the Arkansas, like the Vanderbilts and South Carolinas of the world that are not Georgia, that are not Texas and Oklahoma, that are not Ole Miss, that are not LSU, right? There's certainly tiers in the SEC, and I'm not advocating tanking any of these games, not in the slightest bit. But relax the rotations is my suggestion, or is what I would like to see. Now, obviously, Kalen DeBoer is going to do what he thinks is best, and look, we default to Kalen DeBoer. He's 103-10 as a coach, right? 103-9 as a head coach, and so he knows what he's doing. But that would be my question. Coach, how is the rotations going to work? How are the wide receivers and running back rotations going to work in the Kalen DeBoer offense, in the Kalen DeBoer system? Will there be a more relaxed rotation? Will we see more players? Will Alabama use its depth to get into the defensive back legs, to over and over and over again? Oh, we're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage, whether I'm blocking you or whether I'm running a 9 route down the field. We're going to wear you out. And you're going to see Jeremy Bernard on one snap. You're going to see Kendrick Law on the next. You're going to see Emmanuel Henderson on the next. You'll see Kobe Prentice on the next. You're going to see Cole Adams on the next. You're going to see Caleb Odom, vice versa, so on, all the way down the line. So everybody that plays for the Alabama offense is fresh. And everybody that's on the defense is just getting their tails worn out. That's what I want to know. That is how the rotations will be working. Now, obviously, you don't do that on the offensive line. You don't. That's just not really going to happen. You're going to find your 5. You're going to roll with them. All, 65, 85 snaps in a game, you're going to play with those guys. And so I'm not advocating for any real movement or rotation on the offensive line, but I would love to see from the running backs and from the wide receivers. Yeah, you look at the running back room, you have an embarrassment of riches. Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, Richard Young. Jam Miller has played a lot of football here at the Capstone already. It's his time. It's his time to be running back number 1. But that doesn't, in my estimation, mean that Justice Haynes and Richard Young sit on the shelf. You got Daniel Hill, big old running back from Mississippi, and you need to get him some action. Preferably not when Alabama's up by 40 points and the stakes don't matter, because you never know. Maybe, oh my gosh, we don't pull for any injuries for any team, Alabama or otherwise, foes or otherwise, not at all. But injuries happen in college football. And so if heaven forbids one of the wide receivers, one of the running backs gets hurt and the rotation has to bump up, the young guys have to be ready. I have terrible flashbacks from 2021. And look, I love Jameson Williams and John Mechie. Great players. Elite wide receivers. Probably the last year where Alabama had a true wide receiver one, and they had two of them. Right? So look, I'm not advocating that you should have taken them off the field, and you definitely had personality issues from the young guys. You definitely might have had some buy-in issues from the young guys. So certainly there was some of that to overcome, some maturity issues to overcome. But flashback to the 2021 playoff run. Bam, John Mechie tears his ACL right there in the SEC championship game. Okay, you beat Cincinnati and you're doing just fine without him because you basically out-muscled Cincinnati. And then you get to Indianapolis, and oh my gosh, what could have been? Jameson Williams tears his ACL in the second quarter, early in the second quarter. And the Alabama offense, frankly, goes to poop because none of the other wide receivers were ready to play. Sure, they had the talent, but none of the other wide receivers were ready to play. None of the other wide receivers got a whole lot of reps during the season, during high-pressure situations, and they weren't ready. They dropped the ball, literally dropped the ball in that national championship game. So, look, you obviously aren't taking Jameson Williams and John Mechie off the field for significant time, but I do think that Alabama could benefit from a little change in the rotational philosophy of saying, okay, we're going to get more guys involved. Look, Caleb Odom, you're a freshman. You may not be ready for Division I action. You may not be ready for SEC football, but by golly, we're throwing you in the fire. And look, it's not going to kill us because you're only playing 2 snaps right here in the first quarter, and you'll play another 4 snaps in the second quarter, and you might play 6 snaps in the second half total, right? You're not asking them to become wide receiver one, but you're giving them action. You're giving them reps. You're saying, okay, let's see how you execute in week number 3 at Wisconsin when the crowd is yelling their tails off. Let's see how you execute in week number 5 against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, obviously, you're not throwing snaps away against the Georgias of the world, but when you're playing Vanderbilt, get them out there, get some real repetitions, and see what these young guys are made of. And so that would be my main question to Kalen DeBoer. How will the rotations work? Will we see from the running back room one main running back? Will it be Jam Miller basically carrying the load? Or if Justice Haynes beats him out, or if Richard Young beats him out, will we see one running back carrying the load? Or will it be, all right, this series is a Jam series, that series is a Justice series, the next series is a Richard Young series. Let's find the hot hand and let's make it work. Everybody's getting some love, and we're just going to wear out the other defenses. I think that's an area that the Alabama offense could see vast improvements and pay many dividends towards the end of the year. All right, so if I got more than one question, and again, you can leave me your question at Joe Gaither 6 in the comment sections on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, or you can find me on any of the social medias and leave me your questions. If I got more than one question, my next question would be, Coach, how are you dealing with the pressure of the Alabama job? Because obviously, go back 2-3 shows ago, we did worst case scenarios. We took a Brandon Walker take that said Alabama fans are going to run Kalen DeBoer out of Tuscaloosa if he loses 3 or 4 games. And I don't think that Alabama is going to be losing 3 or more games, but it is possible. I'm not blind to the fact that you have 6 really, really challenging games on the schedule, 6 losable games on the schedule. That's partly why I'm so excited about it. So how are you dealing with the pressures of the Alabama job? Kalen DeBoer, in the media, I think has been a little bit boring. But I think that's by design. Kalen DeBoer will say a whole lot, without saying a whole lot. He'll do a lot of we'll sees, we'll figure it out. He'll do a lot of, oh, good question. Oh, we'll have to think about it. We'll work it out as we go. And look, that's his style. I think it benefits him. But I just wonder how you deal with the pressures of the Alabama job, how you deal with stepping in for head coach Nick Saban. I think that he will do very, very well. I would love to hear his answer. I'm sure that, you've heard it over the last 6 months. He basically says, I relish this opportunity to step in for Nick Saban. I wonder if that's his true feelings, or I wonder if he goes home at night and feels the pressure. Part of me thinks that he doesn't. Part of me thinks that, hey, I'm just focused on ball. I think that probably benefits him. I think he's on social media, but not really on social media, if that makes sense. I think he probably has an allotted time for it each day or during the week. And obviously people monitor it for him, but I don't think that he's really feeling the pressure. I think that he's very singularly focused. And I think he just loves schematics and the X's and O's and developing players. And so I'd love to hear him answer again going into the season. Now that it's closer, how are you dealing with the pressures of the Alabama football job? I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself. I think he's done that his whole career, even at Sioux Falls and even at Indiana and Fresno State, and last year, dating back to the last 2 years at Washington. Now, maybe that's my rose-colored glasses, but it seems to me, golly, these 6-7 months have gone about as well as you could ask for from a transitional standpoint. We'll see how it works out in the games, but I think that it's gone pretty well. Now, my last question is more for you guys, and I'll go ahead and answer it as well, but will Kalen DeBoer say anything newsworthy? Will he say anything that we'll be in the room and go tap, 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 write it up for BamaCentral.com because we got to write it ASAP. Now, obviously, we will be writing it ASAP from the room over there in Dallas, but will he say anything spicy? Will he say anything eye-popping? My guess is no. Again, I think that he's very focused on football. I think that he's very, very well media trained. And I don't think that he's going to say anything that's going to catch a whole lot of headlines. So Wednesday's going to be a lot of fun because it really just marks we're that much closer to college football. And obviously, I know a lot of you guys and girls are looking forward to Monday with the new college football video game coming out. You guys will have to let me know how it is. Really, Wednesday's going to be just kind of a time marker. I think he's going to answer everything like a politician. He's going to answer everything. He's going to treat all the reporters with respect. He always has so far in these 7 months. He's been great with us so far. But as far as newsworthiness, I'm not too hopeful that anything special or spicy is going to be coming out. Now, if I had a question for Malachi Moore, and really I wrote this down under my Kalen DeBoer takes, but it's really for Malachi Moore. My biggest question for Alabama, I'm very confident in the offense, and I'm confident in the talent on the defensive side of the football. My biggest concern is how quickly the defense will be running at full speed. How quickly will the full playbook be at Kane Womack's disposal? How quickly will he be able to flip through the book and say, we're calling this blitz package, we're calling that coverage package, we're calling mixing and matching. We're throwing multiple concepts at the defense, and they're able to still operate at 100%. That's my biggest question for this year. I think the Alabama offense, we've talked about it a couple of different times, and we'll wrap up pretty much right here on the show today. But I think we've talked about the Alabama offense being very deadly this year, and I think it is going to be about as deadly as it's ever been. I think it's going to be threatening defenses in a myriad of ways. I'm excited about it. I'm really, really excited about a deep vertical passing offense with a power running game, stretching the field sideline to sideline. I think that Kalen DeBoer, I think that Nick Sheridan and Jamarcus Shepard are high-level offensive football coaches, and I am very excited about it. On the defensive side of the ball, my concerns aren't at level 10. My concerns probably aren't at level 8 or 9 either. Somewhere above, 5 or 6, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that range. It's not 0 for sure. I have almost 0 concern about the Alabama offense. Maybe just for transparency's sake, we'll label it as a 1. I'm pretty confident that the Alabama offense is going to be elite this year. The defense, I do have concerns. I still have concerns with the third inside linebacker. I love Deontay Lawson and I love Jihad Campbell. It's been a while since I've said these things, but I'm still concerned about the third inside linebacker. Justin Jefferson kind of manning that third inside linebacker. We'll see, one, if he's able to do it, and two, if he has to. Hopefully, ideally, Justin Jefferson just becomes a great special teams player, because I think that's really what his ceiling is. He's fast player. He's a good little athlete. I worry about him plugging the holes in the run game. Not so much in coverage, but plugging the holes in the run game. My biggest concern for the defense, the talent is there. The defensive backfield, yes, the talent is there. Lots and lots and lots of new faces. Holy smokes, new faces in the defensive backfield. And that's going to happen when you have two cornerbacks drafted in the first 2 rounds. Good luck, Terry and Arnold. Good luck, Kool-Aid McKinstry. But you have, and obviously you lost Caleb Downs to the transfer portal. You lost a lot in the defensive backfield. But you went out and replaced with a lot of talent. How well will they gel? That's my question to Malachi Moore. How quickly will the defense be up to 100%, be running at full speed, be saying, here's the play that's called, it's second nature, I'm executing my responsibility, all 11 guys are executing our responsibility, and boom, the concept works. I don't have much doubt in the concept. South Alabama was 16th overall in total defense last year, and obviously they're playing a lesser level of competition, but it's an equal level of competition for South Alabama. And if you're finishing 16th overall in the country in total defense, that's pretty good. Obviously, it's not really the Alabama fan wants top 5 defense. I don't know if that's really a fair expectation in today's college football, and especially with the offenses that Alabama will be facing in the SEC. You got a lot of elite offenses, and a lot of elite offenses are on the Alabama schedule. So you finish top 15 in defense. I think you're going to give this Alabama team, the Alabama offense, and the team as a whole a really strong chance to, one, obviously make the college football playoff. That's the number one goal. Have a record that's good enough to be in the top 12. Number 2 goal is to get to the SEC championship game. Going to be a little bit harder. And number 3 goal is to work your way through the playoff and win a national championship. I think if you're top 15 in defense, that all those goals are very attainable. My concern is how quickly the defense is going to say, okay, here's the concept that's called in from the sidelines. Obviously, whatever signal that it is, coming it in. And Deontay Lawson's going to have that headset. Gonna have that defensive coordinator in his head this year, and I think that's great. I think that it's going to be one on offense and one on defense, so I think that's great. We'll see how that goes, how quickly the defense as a whole grasps the Kane Womack system and says, we're not thinking anymore. We're not thinking, we're executing. Because, look, the talent is still there. The inside linebacker room, Jihad Campbell and Deontay Lawson as a pair, as good a pair as anybody in the country. I love them as a pair. I'm concerned about their health. But last year, both guys missed a little bit of time with minor injuries. Injuries that you pick up for being a badass. Injuries that you pick up for hitting people very, very hard, for bringing the wood. And that's part of the reason why I like those guys, because they do bring the wood. But when you bring the wood consistently all the time, sometimes you get hurt, and golly, that concerns me. That third inside linebacker position concerns me, and how the front will adjust to a more one-gapping attacking scheme. I think that the front it will be beneficial because I think it will be simpler for them. But you also have to have everybody on the same page. You can't have one gap left open against elite offensive talent in the SEC. So that would be my main question to Malachi Moore. I've got a couple questions for Tyler Booker. I've got a couple questions for Jalen Milroe, and hopefully we will be able to have at least 3 questions. Last year, I was very, very, very blessed to have all 3 players for about 4 minutes on the show. We had J.C. Latham, Dallas Turner, and Kool-Aid McKinstry for about 3 minutes each. So I've got 3 questions for each of the guys, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to try our best to make it happen on Wednesday to have about 3 or 4 minutes with all all three guys. And so we've got our three questions. You can leave me your questions in the comments right here at Bama Central, on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on my social medias at Joe Gaither 6, or really wherever you find me on social media. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys this week. I cannot wait to get to Dallas. We're going to be driving on Monday morning, myself and Will Miller. We'll be in Dallas midday. We're going to be driving basically straight shot, and then we're going to be there from Monday afternoon all the way through Thursday's festivities, and we're going to enjoy SEC Media Days on behalf of BamaCentral.com, MizzouCentral.com, and Cowbell Corner. We're going to be working for Alabama, covering Alabama, Mississippi State, and Missouri, and so we cannot wait for that next week. Hope you'll join us on the coverage. You can follow us at Bama Central on Twitter. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 6 on Twitter, on all the social media machines. As we get out of here for the day and for the week, I want to thank Derek Daniel once again. Derek Daniel was the first sponsor to jump back on the program, and we appreciate him so much. You need a local agent. Why do you need a local agent? Because when things happen in Tuscaloosa and in Northport and in West Alabama, you need somebody who knows the area, who knows what part of 82 you're sitting on the side of the road, who can help a tow truck guy get to you. You can call him today at 205-758-3391. Call them today. They'll run you a new quote for your auto insurance. They'll quote you for your home insurance, and they will set you up with life insurance. Life insurance is so important, especially in this day and time when things are so expensive. Look, if you have a family, if you've got kids, if you have a spouse, you need life insurance so that they are taken care of, in the event of emergency. And we absolutely hope no emergencies happen, but that's why you need insurance, because, look, bad things do happen. Unplanned accidents do happen. Call him today at 205-758-3391. He's got a great team in his building at 4604 Highway 69 North, right there in Northport, Alabama. They're about a mile off of McFarland. You go up there, he's just past the Tiger Rock on the left. Call Reese or Red, any of his great employees today, and they will get you squared away on your insurance needs. Call them at 205-758-3391. We appreciate Derek so much for sponsoring the program, and Purple Turtle Roofing for all your roofing needs. If you're going out to the rodeo this weekend, you can check out the Purple Bug. Dustin Foley and his team will be out there, and they'd love to talk to you about scheduling an appointment for a free roof inspection. If you've got any questions, just call them, and they'll come out there and inspect your roof today. 1-877-PT-ROOF-5. That's 1-877-787-6635. That's going to do it for the show today. We love you guys so much. We appreciate y'all for watching us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We appreciate you watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel. More fun things coming to the Bama Central YouTube channel next week. And we appreciate you so much for listening to us on your podcast platforms, on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and Spotify. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.